Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Colorado surprised everyone in year one under Karl Dorrell by going 4-2 and nearly winning the Pac-12 South. And while there is plenty of reason to be optimistic in Boulder, year two may not produce similar results. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, here to predict and analyze Colorado's schedule and record for this 2021 college football season. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and also make sure to check out everything down in the description below, including those brand new expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and now NFL spread picks in the entire country. Sign up for those today before the season begins. I promise you do not want to miss out on that. So let's take a look at Colorado, guys. Colorado led by the Pac-12 Coach of the Year in 2020 in Karl Dorrell. The Buffaloes were a pleasant surprise. Again, 4-2, nearly winning the South, making the Alamo Bowl before falling to Texas 55-23. And when you look at the Buffaloes, guys, they have the talent to be competitive this year. They have the talent to maybe get back to a bowl game this year, something that we haven't really been able to say since Colorado joined the Pac-12. The Buffaloes have the talent, and it starts on the offensive side of the ball where they return 6 starters. Now, they do lose Sam Neuer, their quarterback that started all of last year. He is off, transferred to Oregon State, which means that more than likely Brendan Lewis will be taking over at quarterback. Keep in mind they do have JT Shrout, the transfer from Tennessee, but Brendan Lewis seems to be the number one option due to his dual threat capability. And Colorado wants that because they want to run. They don't just want to run with their quarterback, they want to run with their running backs too. They ranked 23rd in the country last year with 212.3 rushing yards per game, led by Jarek Broussard, who rushed for 895 yards. Keep in mind that Alex Fontenot will be back in the backfield after returning from an injury. And then Brendan Lewis is also going to have some of his top wide receivers coming back in Brendan Rice, the son of Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, and Levante Chenault. Colorado is not lost of any talent on offense. They have plenty on the offensive side of the ball as long as their offensive line can create lanes for their running game. The defense isn't too bad either. 6 starters back on that side of the ball, but they need a little bit more improvement. They allowed 31.7 points per game, and they allowed 420.3 total yards per game. They landed a handful of key transfers. Karl Dorrell, recognizing that need, went out and got it, hoping to fix it. But one thing that Colorado has that a lot of people don't realize is they have one of the best linebacking duos in the entire country. They have Nate Landman, who should be back fully healthy after a torn Achilles last year, had 53 tackles, which led the team. And they have Carson Wells, who had 6.5 sacks last year and 16 tackles for loss. All of those stats coming in just 6 games for Colorado. Carson Wells actually led the country, led all players last year in tackles for loss per game, averaging 2.7 tackles for a loss per game. Landman, if he's healthy, and Carson Wells will be one of the best duos in the nation, and they will anchor this Buffalo's defense. The question is, can that duo anchor this defense and lead them to the postseason for the second year in a row? When we take it Colorado's schedule, let's go ahead and answer that question. They opened the year on a Friday night against Northern Colorado. We believe they win that game. We believe they take care of Northern Colorado, and boom, they're 1-0. They then played Texas A&M in an old Big 12 rivalry in Denver. This game will not be on Colorado's campus. It will not be in Boulder. It will be in Denver. And I love it, guys. I love it when we see old Big 12 matchups like this. Really, any old sort of conference game like this. Colorado and Texas A&M have not met since 2009. And Texas A&M only beat Colorado in their state one time. Have not met since 2009, but during their time in the Big 12, the Aggies only won in the state of Colorado one time. And I can say this is going to be a very run-heavy game. We know what Colorado wants to do with Broussard and Fontenot and potentially the dual threat capability of Brendan Lewis, but we know that Texas A&M has one of the best running backs in the country as well, certainly in the SEC, in Isaiah Spiller, who rushed for over 1,000 yards in 2020. The Aggies averaged 205.1 rushing yards per game. So this is going to be just really a matter of who can run the ball better, especially considering Texas A&M, like Colorado, is dealing with a brand new quarterback. But at the end of the day, I believe that the Aggies own the defensive edge. They returned 9 starters on defense, and Texas A&M only gave up 92 rushing yards per game in 2020. They gave up 92. Colorado gave up 181.2. Major difference there. A&M owned the defensive edge in this game, and I believe they own the coaching edge as well in Jimbo Fisher. The Aggies will come on the road into Denver and take down Colorado. The Buffaloes then return home for a true home game against Minnesota. Another intriguing out-of-conference matchup. Big Ten versus Pac-12. And I love this. And again, another potentially run-heavy game. Colorado's rushing attack against the Big Ten running back of the year and Muhammad Ibrahim over at Minnesota. Minnesota returns 9 starters on the offensive side of the ball. Ibrahim's included. And you got Tanner Morgan, you got Chris Ottman-Bell from a team in Minnesota that took a major step back in 2020 and desperately is hoping to row their boat back in the right direction in 2021. But here's the downfall for the Golden Gophers in this game. Colorado, as we mentioned, wants to run. Minnesota could not stop the run last year to save their life. The Golden Gophers gave up 207.1 rushing yards per game. And in a game that has the chance to be very, very high scoring, back and forth, I believe Colorado's defense and that linebacking core does just enough, gets one crucial stop when they need it the most, and they pull off what I think is a mini upset over Minnesota. A lot of people think that Minnesota is going to bounce back in a big, big way. We think they bounce back a little bit. One of their wins isn't coming on the road at Boulder, though. Colorado and Carl Durrell get a big non-conference victory over a quality opponent. They're 2-1, and now they're going into the conference play, the bulk of conference play, which will make or break their entire season. No one's expecting Colorado to contend for a division crown this year. Last year was wild across the board, not to take anything away from the Buffaloes. But with the likes of USC, Arizona State, and Utah being the top 3 in the division, Colorado's just hoping to get to 6 wins, or at least just be competitive across the board. Well, they open up conference play with a road game at Arizona State. And actually, their first 2 conference games are against arguably the top 2 teams in the division, in Arizona State and USC. We'll start with the one against the Sun Devils. Maybe the South favorite for many. Now look at the Sun Devils, guys. Yes, we don't know what's going to happen with all those recruiting violations. As of this video, we know nothing. We know they committed the violations. What the NCAA chooses to do remains to be seen. We've said that. We've reiterated that. We'll see how it all plays out. But assuming nothing happens, Arizona State's the real deal. They average 264.1 rushing yards per game. Can Colorado stop that? Can Colorado stop Jaden Daniels and Rashad White? We don't think so. Again, the Buffaloes were giving up over 180 rushing yards per game last year. I think Arizona State literally runs all over them, not to mention they have the home field advantage in this game. Colorado 0-1 in conference play. They return home to take on USC. Now, this is a trendy upset pick for so many people, guys. So many people think that Colorado is going to upset USC. And I do believe this is a trap game for the Trojans. I do believe this is a major trap game for USC. But I'm not picking an upset here. The Trojans have never lost to Colorado. They are 14-0 all time against the Buffaloes. 3 of the last 5 games between USC and Colorado have been decided by 1 possession, so I believe the gap is getting closer and closer. That last time they came here in Boulder, USC escaped just 35-31. Expect a similar result. Expect another back-and-forth game, another 1-possession game. Make it 4 of the last 6. But I believe USC is going to improve to 15-0 all time against Colorado. I believe that Keaton Slovis and this passing attack do just enough in this game. I don't know if Colorado's passing defense can hang in this one, and I really don't know if Colorado's offense can keep up in what could possibly be a shootout. Can they keep up with the high-octane, air raid offense that USC wants to run? And right now I'm saying no. 1-possession game in Boulder, but USC gets the win. We are not going with that trendy upset pick. Colorado now 0-2 in the Pac-12. They get their bye week before they play Arizona. And if I'm Colorado, I'm kind of wishing my bye week came somewhere else. Maybe before the USC game. Because I don't know if Arizona is going to be able to beat anybody in the Pac-12 this year. They are without a doubt the worst team in the conference. And that's not being disrespectful. You look at the numbers from last year. You look at what they're dealing with this year with the brand new head coach, quarterback questions, poor defense. it's not in the cards for the Wildcats this year. It's going to take a long time to build this program back up. And when you look at what happened last year, Colorado beat Arizona 24-13 behind 301 rushing yards from Jarek Broussard. Not 301 rushing yards as a team, 301 rushing yards from one player. The Buffaloes put up 407 total rushing yards on the day. They're going to run all over the Wildcats again, especially with the week of prep. Now the game being in Boulder, Colorado gets their first conference victory of the year. They are 3-3 going into the final 6 games of the season. They kick that off with a road game at California. This is one of those games that I think you could consider a toss-up, a potential toss-up. Justin Wilcox and the Golden Bears always seem to have a very strong defense. This year it's going to be more so in the secondary than anything else. Well, that could bode well for Colorado. Maybe they can exploit some weaknesses up front in that front 7 and get something going on the ground. But the one thing that has typically held back Justin Wilcox in California has been their offense. That's the one thing they've really struggled with. They're not going to struggle offensively this year. Chase Garbers, assuming he can stay healthy, is the most experienced quarterback in the Pac-12 with 23 starts to his name. When he is under center for California, the offense is completely different. He is back. Christopher Brown Jr. is back. Some of their top pass catchers are back. 8 starters total offensively for California. The game's in Berkeley, and with this type of defense for California, along with probably a balanced offense they've been looking for, I believe they're definitely a North sleeper team, and they're not going to fall to Colorado, especially at home. The Buffaloes then travel to Oregon. I mean, come on, guys. This is the top team in the North. Again, no disrespect to Colorado, but the game is in Eugene. And as we've mentioned time and time again, we feel that Oregon is kind of in a league of their own right now. They are the top team in the North. They are the top team in the Pac-12 until proven otherwise. They've won the conference 2 years in a row. They have an electric RPO offense with Joe Moorhead calling the shots, Anthony Brown at quarterback. Top 2 rushers are back. Top 2 receivers are back. And as we've mentioned time and time again, the defense is loaded from top to bottom. That defensive line with Kayvon Thibodeau, to their linebacking core, to their secondary, they are loaded. The game is in Eugene. Colorado coming off a road game at California. Now have to go back to such a very difficult, hostile environment. They're not going to beat Oregon. I don't know if many teams will beat Oregon this year, especially in the Pac-12. So the Buffaloes have now dropped again 2 games in a row. Win, loss, win, 2 losses in a row. They get the bye week off and beat Arizona, and they have another 2 losses. They need some help. Right now they only have 3 wins, and they've got 4 games left. So they're going to have to win 3 of their final 4, and it's a pretty rough month for them. It's a pretty rough month of November. An Oregon State team that we think is going to be a little bit better than maybe their final record indicates. An improving UCLA team. Washington, who many think could win the North, and then Utah, a team who's being forgotten by many but is an elite contender in the South. So they kick their things off against Oregon State in Boulder. That's huge right there. The fact that the game is at home for Colorado. That, to me, is potentially going to be the difference maker in this game because we're going to pick the Buffaloes to win. And I wish that Jamar Jefferson was not gone. I wish that we would get to see him go up against Colorado in their rushing attack. I mean, so many games on Colorado's schedule where you could see a more ground-based attack than an aerial attack that we're so used to seeing now in today's world of college football. But we look at Oregon State. They lose Jamar Jefferson. You might see a Sam Neuer start here, so a Sam Neuer reunion if he, in fact, wins the starting job for the Beavers. But outside of that, Oregon State had one of the worst rushing defenses in the nation last year, allowing 217.6 rushing yards per game. That number will improve a little bit, but when you're on the road facing such a run-heavy team, a Colorado team that averaged over 200 rushing yards per game themselves, I believe that they have a field day against the Beavers. Kind of similar to the game against Arizona. Not necessarily a high-scoring game, not necessarily a blowout, but one that I believe Colorado wins by double digits and one where they rush for at least 300 rushing yards. They beat Oregon State. They've got 4 wins. They need 2 more. They go on the road to take on UCLA, a team they beat last year, 48-42. But now, they're facing a UCLA team that has 19 starters back. A team that returns Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback, Britton Brown at running back, their top wide receivers, with the exception of Demetric Felton, and 10 starters back on the defensive side of the ball, where their weakness is actually in stopping the pass, not in stopping the run. They have a weak passing defense, but their rushing defense wasn't all that bad. I'm not saying that Colorado can't win games through the air. I'm not saying that I don't have faith in Brendan Lewis. I actually think he's going to be pretty solid at quarterback. But I believe that Dorian Thompson-Robinson owns that quarterback edge. UCLA clearly owns the home field advantage, obviously. And I believe UCLA is trending in the right direction. Whether they get to a bowl game or not remains to be seen. It's a big year for Chip Kelly. But they need a win over Colorado to potentially help those chances, and they're going to get it at the Rose Bowl. They're going to get it at the Rose Bowl. Even though Colorado won last year, they only won 48-42. Revenge on the mind for the Bruins with home field advantage on their side now. They get the job done. Their defense steps up big. Colorado has to win their final two if they want to go bowling. The game at Washington on senior night is a trap game for the Huskies. Just like that USC game is for the Trojans, this is a trap game for the Huskies. A team that is a Pac-12 North favorite for many, just in year two under Jimmy Lake. A team that is very, very good. A team that, especially defensively, is very, very good. Their offense is the million-dollar question right now. Can they find a quarterback? Sam Heward, Dylan Morris, we don't know who is going to be right now. More than likely Morris to start. But like Colorado, they're a team that wants to run the ball. They're a team that wants to win in the trenches. But at the end of the day, despite the game being in Boulder, I have more faith in Washington's defense than I do in Colorado's. I believe Jimmy Lake wakes up, has his team ready to go. They know, hey, if we can stop the run, we have enough faith in our secondary to stop the pass with a younger quarterback in Brendan Lewis. I believe Colorado drops this game to Washington again, like the USC game, by one possession. So at this point, they cannot go bowling. They close out the year on the road at Utah, a team they were actually leading at one point by 11 last year, 21-10. But then after that, were outscored by 28 points and lost 38-21. Well, the Utes, this is their senior night. They return 18 starters. They landed a transfer quarterback in Charlie Brewer from Baylor. Their defense last year ranked 11th nationally in stopping the run, and that number right there is all you need to know. Because Utah's defense could even be better than they were last year, especially when it comes to stopping the run. The game was in Boulder. I'd maybe consider this to be an opportunity for Colorado to pull up yet another upset. Salt Lake City, senior night, this Utah team that to me is not getting enough attention, don't really have faith in the Buffaloes to pull it off. And with that loss, Carl Durrell in year two is going to go 4-8. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. They're going to say, how? They go 4-2 last year, nearly win the South, and now 4-8? Look at the schedule, guys. A tough non-conference game against Texas A&M. Obviously, a very difficult South with a road game at Arizona State, a road game at Utah, a road game at Oregon. The road slate, very difficult. If there are 3 toss-up games on this schedule that can maybe go Colorado's way, that we consider possibly toss-ups, it's that USC game, the trendy upset pick, the road game at California, and the road game at UCLA. Those are the 3. But again, 2 of those are on the road in a year where I believe home field advantage plays such a crucial role. Colorado really desperately needs to improve their defense. They'll get there. 4-8, not bad. They're competitive in the majority of their games, but they fall just short. And we'll have to prepare for year 3 under Carl Durrell, a year that I actually do think they can get to the postseason. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in that description below, including those expert picks. Sign up for those today on our website before the season starts. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.